To optimize our cognitive health, we must understand the two primary modes of state-based healing. On the left, Mode A focuses on the physiological, restorative process, where the glymphatic system flushes out neurotoxic proteins like amyloid-beta during deep non-REM sleep. On the right, Mode B highlights the regulatory psychological side, utilizing clinical hypnosis to modulate perception through focused attention and altered neural connectivity. By leveraging both physiological waste removal and psychological management, we can target healing at a systemic level. To optimize brain health, we must distinguish between two vital maintenance systems. On one hand, we have the biological cleanser, the glymphatic system, which removes neurotoxins during deep, slow-wave sleep. On the other is the mental regulator, or hypnosis, which uses focal concentration to manage symptoms like pain and anxiety. Crucially, hypnosis is not sleep. It is a state of highly aroused, attentive concentration that is biologically distinct from sleep by every EEG criterion. Think of the glymphatic system as your brain's dishwasher, a vital waste clearance network formed by astrocytes. Driven by the rhythmic pulsing of our arteries, cerebrospinal fluid flows in to exchange with interstitial fluid, effectively rinsing the brain. This process flushes metabolic waste out through the veins, specifically removing neurotoxic proteins like amyloid-beta and tau. It's a crucial system for keeping our neural environment clean and healthy. Slow-wave sleep is the engine behind the brain's essential cleaning process. While we rest, our brain cells physically shrink, expanding the interstitial space by a staggering 60%. This dramatic shift reduces resistance, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow freely through the tissue. This system is powered by slow-wave activity, neural oscillations that act as a physical pump. Essentially, the electricity of deep sleep drives the hydraulics that wash away metabolic waste. Neurodegeneration is driven by a vicious, bidirectional cycle that often begins decades before a clinical diagnosis. It starts with disturbed sleep, which impairs the brain's glymphatic clearance. This leads to an accumulation of neurotoxins like amyloid-beta and tau, causing neuronal death and plaque aggregation. Tragically, this damage further disrupts sleep, accelerating the decline. Recognizing this feedback loop is vital for early detection and prevention. When we look at modulating the brain's hardware, we have four primary categories of intervention. Sensory stimulation utilizes tools like auditory closed loops or visual flickers to boost slow-wave activity and reduce amyloid load. Transcranial methods employ magnetic, electrical, or light energy to aid clearance. On the behavioral front, something as simple as sleeping on your right side or regular cardio can enhance transport. And pharmacologically, it's a balance. Melatonin supports clearance, while benzodiazepines can be harmful by suppressing critical slow-wave sleep. Arthur Frank famously noted that imagination is consciousness trying to gain sovereignty over its experience. This insight defines the transition we're exploring, moving away from Mode A, a state of passive biological cleaning, and toward Mode B. This is active psychological sovereignty. It's the process of shifting from merely processing what happens to us to intentionally using our imagination to define and direct our own inner world. Let's demystify hypnosis by clearing up a few common misconceptions. It isn't sleep, rather it's a state of intense focal concentration, a psychological zoom lens that narrows your awareness. You aren't losing control either. It's a partnership that actually helps you gain control over involuntary functions. Furthermore, being hypnotizable is a sign of intelligence and mental health, as it requires a high capacity for focus. Ultimately, the process relies on three core components: absorption, dissociation, and suggestibility. Hypnotizability is a fundamental biological trait, often signaled by the eye roll sign, a physical marker for an individual's capacity for dissociation. Most people fall into the Dionysian category, where they balance logic and emotion. On the lower end of the spectrum, Apollonians are characterized by a logical, controlling focus on the why. Conversely, Dionysians are highly hypnotizable, emotional, and deeply absorbed in the present moment. These profiles provide a roadmap for understanding how different individuals uniquely process cognitive and emotional information. Hypnosis offers powerful clinical tools for managing pain and anxiety. In pain management, we teach filtering, the ability to separate physical sensation from emotional suffering. By using imagery like coolness or numbness, patients can effectively filter out the distress signal. For anxiety, we utilize the screen technique. By projecting fears onto a mental split screen, patients gain the psychological distance needed to shift from being a passive victim of their worry to the active director of their mental state. Let's explore how cognitive restructuring applies to both trauma recovery and habit control. In trauma treatment, we navigate the 8 C's, from confrontation to congruence. The objective is to integrate the memory into your history, ensuring it's no longer relived as a present experience. Similarly, with habits like smoking, we shift from fighting against a habit to fighting for the body. By viewing the body as something to protect and respect, we change the entire premise of the struggle. Hypnosis serves as the critical software update for our brain's nightly maintenance. By utilizing techniques like floating imagery to lower pre-sleep arousal, we trigger an essential autonomic shift from fight or flight to a deep rest and digest state. This prepares the physiological hardware of sleep, specifically boosting the slow wave activity necessary for the brain to flush out toxins. Ultimately, this process optimizes glymphatic clearance, maximizing waste removal and providing long-term neuroprotection. Think of brain health as maintaining both hardware and software. We protect the hardware through rigorous sleep hygiene, prioritizing slow-wave sleep and side sleeping, alongside cardio and the avoidance of benzodiazepines. We optimize the software by using mental regulation tools like self-hypnosis and cognitive reframing to manage stress. Above all, we must take a proactive stance. Since neurodegeneration starts years before symptoms emerge, early intervention is our most powerful tool for long-term health. To truly have sovereignty over our experience, we must recognize that brain health is a dual responsibility. It isn't just about physical maintenance, the sleep, nutrition, and exercise that keep the organ functioning. It's also about intentional direction, the conscious choices we make about where we focus our attention. When we align physical care with mental purpose, we move from being passive observers to active architects of our own minds. To ground our discussion in rigorous research, I've drawn from 2 primary areas of study: